Hey, good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are. This is Roaming Prepper Channel. I'm your host, Pete, and I'm the prepper with the messy kitchen. Today, I want to talk about understanding your geology and your geography where you are. When you look at what's happened in North Carolina, you look at what has happened in the past in Texas, Florida, even the earthquakes in California, understanding how the earth works, so to say, in your area is super important. For example, I lived on the Gulf Coast of Louisiana and Texas for years. It was well-known fact, we get hurricanes every year, every couple of years. It's a bunch of storms. We know it's a high rain area. The ground is soft. The ground is also very absorbent of water, has a high porosity and a high permeability, and it tends to drain quickly even if an inundation happens. Now living in West Texas, it's high, it's very compacted earth, it's very low porosity, very low permeability, and the truth is you could get 5, 6, 7, 8 inches of rain in Houston or Louisiana and it would raise the water level, but it would drain very quickly. Whereas if we get 5 or 6 inches of rain in El Paso or in West Texas, going from like Lubbock, the Permian Basin, almost all the way to the hill country, the water won't absorb into the ground the way it does, say, in the coast. It'll go to the lowest ground and flush from whatever divot or whatever valley or bayou it finds. So understanding that 2 inches of rain could flood streets here, whereas 2 inches of rain was a weekly occurrence in Houston, makes a big difference. You also have to factor in, is my area, if it gets a lot of water, would it be prone to mudslides? Would it be prone to landslides? So a few recommendations for those of you who are preppers who may want to get a little bit more knowledge about where you are. One, check your local flood maps. Now FEMA, for the job they haven't done, FEMA has actually kept pretty decent flood maps. Look and see where your home is in respect to rivers, lakes, valleys, or anything that would attract the water. Think about that. Even if you live in a valley and there's no river, if you get 10 inches of rain, the water's going to go thump to the bottom and it's going to go rushing down. So understand, where would water go? Now, FEMA doesn't have what you need as far as flood maps. Most states have to have them for their own civil engineering. So do some homework, do some digging, and see if you can find them. Also, check to see if you have flood insurance. Flood insurance is not coverage on your house. It's separate. It's run by the feds. It's kind of a separate entity, and you pay separately for it. And it ranges from $300 to $700 a year, depending on your house, the property, how expensive it is, et cetera, et cetera. However, even if you get full insurance for the house, if you don't have insurance for flooding specifically, you won't get covered if you have something like this happen. A good way to think about it is the insurance companies define a flood as water coming from the ground level up, not water coming from the top down. So if you get rain and your roof busts in, but you don't get flooded, you get flooded by virtue of water entry from the roof, that might actually get covered in most home insurances. But if it rains really heavy and the water comes up, you may or may not be covered. More than likely not. Understand how these things play into your coverage, into your recovery. We spend a lot of time talking about preparedness. I don't think we spend enough time talking about recovery, but that's going to be a separate issue for a separate video. In any case, for those of you who are with me right now, get familiar with your geology, get familiar with the hydrologic information of your area. And when I say that is, where would water flow if you had a large quantity show up? Understand where your rivers are, where are the floodplains, where are the embankments, where are the runs and the cuts between hills and rivers that might cause water to flow faster. Keep in mind, if you get 20 inches of rain or whatever amount across a large area, that's one thing if it's flat. If it has divots, if it has valleys, if it has little bayous, the water will naturally go to these low spots. And when it goes, think of a funnel effect. right? You could pour water in very slowly to the top end of a big funnel. It comes out very fast because you're taking those molecules, compressing them, and forcing them out in a faster way. It's basically Bernoulli's equation. I won't go into the physics of it, but I actually spent an entire semester doing research on that when I was an undergrad. So yeah, trust me, take a bunch of water and you try and force it at a certain pressure through a smaller hole, it's going to come out faster. It's kind of the effect of putting your thumb over the end of a hose. So anyway, folks, get familiar with your area, get familiar with the way water flows in your area, and while you're at it, double check your insurance. I highly recommend scanning any documents you get from your insurance company. You may want to consider putting them on the cloud. I know a lot of us aren't comfortable with that. Have it on iCloud or OneDrive. Also have hard copies in a bug out book. I did a video on that last year or year before. Go check that out. At the very least, have a folder of important papers that's something you can grab quickly, stick inside a plastic bag and go. And if you can laminate the stuff or seal it in a plastic pouch up front, even better. In any case, that's it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. And again, get familiar with your area, get familiar with the earth, the way water, the way the ground behaves when it gets large amounts of water, large amounts of heat. These are important things and they can factor in. The folks in North Carolina were not expecting entire hillsides to come down. So, this was a challenge for them, and it's going to continue to be. And I fear the fatalities are nowhere near what we think they are. In any case, God bless, Godspeed. I will see you guys on the next video.